This video is brought to you by Devout Decals, makers of reusable Catholic art for your home altar, your bedroom, and your home classroom.
Cardinal Manning was one of the great minds of the late 19th and early 20th century. He was a cardinal who was a theologian who often argued with the sovereign pontiff of his day, and I believe was actually ended up being canceled because he tended to take a more national-oriented view towards things, towards his own homeland, when it came to some of the emerging trends in the secular world. Be that as it may, his views here, his teaching here, is key. Recently I presented to you the first couple of parts of his lecture on the Antichrist, and now you get the third part, which is on the restrainer of the Antichrist. Who restrains him? Who is the catechon? The last time we've heard the term catechon used really was when people started wondering if Benedict XVI was the catechon. The catechon is the restrainer of the Antichrist, who Cardinal Manning here will tell you is both a man and a system. The Church teaches that the Antichrist is a singular man. Here, when he says he is a system, he's referring to what we commonly refer to as like the beast system, that which will prevent people who do not have the mark of the beast from being able to buy and purchase and participate in economics and society broadly. And that is generally what he means by that when he says the Antichrist is both a man and a system. I think the more common used term these days of the beast system. But there's something that is restraining it, and that is the papacy. As you'll hear it in a moment. Spoiler alert, it is the Roman pontiff who is the great restrainer of the man of sin, the vicar of Christ. And really, because it's the vicar of Christ, it is Christ himself. And as he teaches you here, eventually, our Lord is going to allow the catechon to be removed. Either literally removed, as in there not being a pope for some time, or for the catechon to lose its power. That the graces bestowed upon the Roman pontiff that allow him to act as catechon will be removed. One way or the other, the Antichrist will appear someday as a man with a system of his own for control. It will be a relatively short reign, a little over 3 years, but it will be the longest 3.5-year period in anybody's life. Here's Cardinal Manning on the Antichrist and the system of restraining the Antichrist. Cardinal Manning, who or what restrains the arrival of the Antichrist? As there is perpetual working of this mystery of iniquity, so there is a perpetual hindrance or barrier to its full manifestation, which will continue until it be removed, and there a fixed time when it shall be taken out of the way. Now, inasmuch as this wicked one shall be a lawless person, who shall introduce disorder, sedition, tumult, and revolution, both in the temporal and spiritual order of the world, so that which shall hinder his development, and shall be his direct antagonist after his manifestation, must necessarily be the principle of order, the law of submission, the authority of truth and of right. We have now come nearly to a solution of which I stated in the beginning, namely, how it is that the power which hinders the revelation of the lawless one is not only a person but a system, and not only a system but a person. In one word, it is Christendom and its head, and therefore in the person of the vicar of Jesus Christ. And in that twofold authority, with which by divine providence he has been invested, we see the direct antagonist to the principle of disorder. Ever since the foundation of Christian Europe, the political order of the world has rested upon the incarnation of our Lord Jesus Christ, for which reason all the public acts of authority, and even the calendar by which we date our days is calculated from the year of salvation, or from the year of our Lord. In the day in which you admit those who deny the incarnation to an equality of privileges, you remove the social life and order in which you live from the incarnation to the basis of mere nature. And this is precisely what was foretold of the anti-Christian period. If the barrier which has hindered the development of the principle of anti-Christian disorder has been the divine power of Jesus Christ our Lord, incorporated in the Church and guided by his vicar, then no hand is mighty enough, no will is sovereign enough to take it out of the way, but only the hand and the will of the incarnate Son of God himself. The history of the Church and the history of our Lord on earth run as it were in parallel. For 33 years the Son of God incarnate was in the world, and no man could lay hand upon him. No man could take him, because his hour was not yet come. There was an hour foreordained when the Son of God would be delivered into the hand of sinners. He foreknew it. He foretold it. He held it in his own hand, for he surrounded his person with a circle of his own divine power. No man could break through that circle of omnipotence until the hour came, when by his own will he opened the way for the powers of evil. In like manner with his church, until the hour is come when the barrier shall, by divine will, be taken out of the way, no one has power to lay a hand upon it. The gates of hell may war against it. They may strive and wrestle, as they struggle now with the vicar of our Lord. But no one has the power to move him one step, until the hour shall come when the Son of God shall permit, for a time, the powers of evil to prevail. That he will permit it for a time stands in the book of prophecy. We have that need then to be upon our guard. It shall happen once more with some, as it did with the Son of God when he was in his passion. They saw him betrayed, bound, carried away, buffeted, blindfolded, and scourged. They saw him carrying his cross to Calvary, then nailed upon it and lifted up to the scorn of the world. And they said, if he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. So in like manner they say now, see this Catholic Church, this Church of God, feeble and weak, rejected even by the very nations called Catholic. There is Catholic France, Catholic Germany, and Catholic Sicily, and Catholic Italy, giving up this exploded figment of the temporal power of the Vicar of Christ. And so because the Church seems weak and the Vicar of the Son of God was renewing the passion of his Master upon earth, therefore we are scandalized. Therefore we turn our faces from him. When then is our faith? But the Son of God foretold these things when he said, and now I have told you before it come to pass, that when it shall come to pass, you may believe. Curious what you thought of that, so let me know in the comments. The concept of the Roman Pontiff as catechon. Now, there will be many who will point to how bizarre the world has gotten in the last 60 years or so as evidence for sedevacantism, that there isn't really a pope, that the papacy has been essentially taken, and you have just men who sit there with no actual authority who are not actually popes, and that they use this emerging diabolical culture as the evidence of that. I don't particularly hold that view. I'm not a sedevacantist myself. I don't hold it against anybody who is one. I understand how you can get to that position. I tend to think instead that we are seeing that system beginning to unfurl itself in very real time. 2020 was probably a dry run for it in many ways. The attempts to make people not be able to go shopping and such were the first clumsy attempts at it. I think we have a long way to go before the man of sin arrives. But that a long way to go in cosmic times is probably right around the corner. I'm curious what you think about this. Let me know in the comments. What do you think of Cardinal Manning's teaching here? That it is the Roman Pontiff, the Vicar of Christ, with Christ acting through him, as the catechon. And then you go back to what I asked you at the beginning, or mentioned at the beginning, how people spoke about Benedict as the catechon. Curious what you think about all that together in the comments, please. So let me know, and hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. So does sharing this on social media. That helps too. And please pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.